Imagine the first time. Not the first time anyone ever saw a fire.
Lightning has been setting things ablaze for hundreds of millions of years.
And animals have been fleeing it for just as long.
But the first time a hominin looked at fire and had a thought.
A thought that no animal before them had ever had.
Not run, not hide, not the deep, ancient, wired-in command.
To get away from the burning thing. Something closer to wait.
We do not know when that moment happened.
We do not know who it was, what species they were, or what exactly was going through their head when they stayed instead of fled.
What we do know is that at some point in the deep prehistory of our lineage, possibly as far back as 1.5 to 2 million years ago, some ancestor of ours began a relationship with fire. That would end up being the most consequential relationship in the history of life on this planet. Not a metaphor, literally the most consequential. More than photosynthesis, unlocking solar energy for complex life. More than the Cambrian explosion of animal body plans. Some ancestor of ours began a relationship with fire.
It changed what we ate, what we looked like, how our brains developed, where we could live when we were awake, how we related to each other.
And ultimately, what kind of civilization we were capable of building. The entire human story after fire is different from anything that came before it. Let us start with the most immediate and most dramatic consequence: cooking. Before cooking, early hominins ate raw food. This seems obvious, but its implications are not. Raw food is genuinely difficult to process. Raw meat requires enormous chewing effort and is harder to digest than cooked meat. Raw plant starches are largely indigestible without cooking, because heat breaks down the cell walls and converts resistant starches into forms that the human gut can actually absorb. Raw food also carries a significant pathogen load. The parasites, bacteria, and viruses that live in uncooked meat and unwashed plant material cause illness and death at rates that cooked food dramatically reduces. From a biological standpoint, cooking is not just food preparation. It is an external digestive process that the body no longer has to perform entirely on its own. Richard Wrangham, a Harvard primatologist, has developed what he calls the cooking hypothesis. The argument that cooking was not just a useful addition to the hominin toolkit. Some ancestor of ours began a relationship with fire. The argument is this: cooking increases the caloric yield of food dramatically, allowing the same amount of food to deliver significantly more usable energy. This meant that early humans could spend less time eating and less energy on digestion. And when the body no longer needs to devote enormous resources to a massive digestive system,
We do not know when that moment happened.
The human brain is metabolically expensive in a way that is genuinely extreme.
it consumes roughly 20% of the body's total energy at rest. A wildly disproportionate share for an organ that represents only about 2% of body mass. Sustaining a brain this large requires either a very high-calorie diet or a reduced investment in other energetically expensive body systems. The human gut is, compared to other great apes, significantly smaller.
Our teeth are smaller. Our jaw muscles are smaller.
We have a reduced digestive tract overall.
These are the anatomical signatures of a species that outsourced part of its digestion to an external process, cooking, and redirected the freed energy toward brain development. This is not a small claim. It is a claim that fire, literally and directly, made us smarter. That the cognitive capacity you are using right now to follow this argument exists partly because some ancestor of yours discovered that meat goes further and tastes better when you put it near flames for a while. The timing of Homo erectus's emergence and the earliest evidence of controlled fire use
Aligns closely with this hypothesis.
Homo erectus had a significantly larger brain than earlier hominins,
Where we could live when we were awake. How we related to each other.
Whether this anatomy was the cause of fire use or the result of it is a chicken and egg question.
That may not have a clean answer.
The two things probably fed each other in a cycle that accelerated over time.
Each improvement enabling the next in a feedback loop that eventually produced a creature.
With a brain capable of things no earlier organism had attempted. What is not in dispute is the downstream effect. A species with a large brain, small gut, and an external cooking technology that effectively pre-digested its food was a species capable of doing things that no previous organism had done.
And the first of those things was simply surviving more winters.
Heat. This is the second great consequence of fire.
And in some ways, the more immediately dramatic one.
The human body is not well suited to cold.
We are a tropical primate. We lose heat through our exposed skin surface at rates that are genuinely dangerous below certain temperatures. Without clothing and without fire, anatomically modern humans cannot survive in environments that drop significantly below freezing.